Welcome back to another episode of Logistics Remix. Today's guest leads one of the most recognized names in Latin American parcel logistics. AJ Hernandez is the president and CEO of SkyPostal, the largest private mail and parcel delivery network in Latin America. Under his leadership, SkyPostal has expanded to over 30 countries, forged strategic partnerships with global players, and built services that make cross-border e-commerce to LATAM faster and more reliable. Now, prior to starting SkyPostal, AJ was founder of SkyBox and former president of Punto Mio, both pioneers of U.S. to Latin American e-commerce logistics long before cross-border became a buzzword. AJ, it's great to have you on the show.
It is great to be here. Thank you for having me. Look forward to this.
Yeah, excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
I want to kind of take us back in time a bit, and because you originally set your sights on a professional baseball career. Now, how did you go from chasing that dream to finding your way into logistics?
Well, it wasn't by choice. I never had really considered my life other than as a baseball player, which is as silly as it is. I was lucky enough to play college baseball and then play professionally with the California Angels in their minor league system. But the truth is, I got hurt. But the real truth is, I ran out of talent. At those levels, the talent is real. And everybody's an All-American and everybody's an All-Star. And I ran out of talent. That's what I always told people for the last 30 years. So I really found myself lost. I didn't know what to do. It was like, this is my identity. I'm a baseball player. What am I supposed to do now with my life? And my old man invited me to come down to Miami to join him at his company, SkyNet. SkyNet's the company that he founded. SkyNet is still in existence today. It's the largest privately owned courier network in the world. It has, I think, over 120 countries, probably more now. But at the time, it had 120 countries. And I joined him getting into this industry 33 years ago. And I would have never thought back then that I'd still be in it today.
It kind of draws you in, right? And there's never-ending problems to solve. It's always an exciting one. That's what I found. That's really interesting. So, what position did you play? Can you tell us a little bit more about baseball before
I
we
was
jump
a
into
left-handed
logistics?
hitter. I played first base and outfield. I was drafted to hit, and then they said, "We'll put you where we can find you." And, as a lefty, you can only play either first base or outfield. There's no other places you can play. So I was a left-handed thrower as well as a left-handed bat.
When did you start playing baseball? How old were you?
2. I think my grandfather put a ball in my crib probably, and he was the one that taught me the game. He taught me the love of the game. I really fell in love with baseball at a very young age. Growing up I was born in the Bronx and then grew up in New Jersey, and still am a diehard Yankee fan, and grew up watching the Yankees all my life. And it gives me great memories with my grandfather and even with my father. So it's just
Yeah,
all good stuff.
no, it hasn't been hard to be a Yankees fan, the last few decades.
No, it's never been hard, except in the 80s. But yeah, it hasn't been difficult.
So okay, so you had this awesome baseball career, but unfortunately, didn't last. You said your dad, he invited you to join him at his company.
Mhm.
Now he also founded several companies, I understand, Skynet included, and logistics. It sounds like has been always a part of your family
Oh, God, yeah.
story. And so, what is it like? What was it like even just growing up in that world where your dad was an entrepreneur in the logistics space, and how did it shape your perspective? Why did you decide to say, "Yeah, I'll come over and join the business"?
Um, First of all, we were born into this thing. This is like, it's a mafia. My dad was in this thing since he was 16 years old. He started off as a messenger at a company called Choice in New York City. He was a foot messenger. Uh, and then eventually worked his way up to 19 years later, he bought the international division of that company. And that is what formed the base of SkyNet when he started it. Um, so I was born into this. My father was a 100% entrepreneur, fly by the seat of your pants, you know, never say no, get after it. And and a work ethic that I've never seen in anybody since. I'm telling you, in my 33 years of my life, I've never seen anybody work harder than my father. He was a workaholic. Uh, and I say that in a not in a good way. He was a workaholic, which, I think everyone needs to have life balance, work-life balance. He didn't have it. He was obsessed with the business, obsessed with it being successful, and he worked very hard at it. And so he imparted that on me. And I think you asked why I joined the business. It was probably the easiest path. I just came out of playing ball. I was 23 years old. I said, what else am I going to do? I'll give this a try until I figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. And I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. And it's only been 33 years. So
So sounds like there wasn't really a plan for a legacy, right? Sounds like there wasn't a plan for him to bring you in the business and have you take over the company. It just so happened that you had your injury and you were looking for something, and he said, "Come on over." Did you work in the business prior to that, or was or did you just just see
yes,
him in the
no,
business?
and that, I think that gave me a really good base. In the summers while I was in high school and even in college, I worked in his business. I was either sorting packages. Um, 2 years I spent in customer service, so having to deal with angry customers, or dealing with customers on a daily basis gives you great insight as to what people expect, and performing to the expectations of our clients. So
Yeah, so then it made it I guess an easier transition. I was like, all right, what else do I have going on? Let's make it happen. Well, let me ask you about this. You mentioned your dad's work ethic. What do you think like what created that work ethic for him? And um you talk about working alongside your dad. It sounds like a family run company. Any early memories of working alongside your dad?
my father comes from very, very humble beginnings. His family left Cuba before Castro. They came in like 1958, which is 2 years before Castro, um, looking for a better life. They were very modest. They were poor. They moved to New York City. My father grew up in the projects, so he's a kid from the projects. Didn't have any money, and early on in his life, he says, "I want better." He tells me he would tell me that he would around 12 years old. He said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better life than living like this. And he set his sights on it. He put himself through college. He's put himself through grad school while working for this courier company as a messenger boy. And then eventually got a job at the same company as an accountant, worked his way up uh, in the finance department, then worked his way up into operations and became the chief operating officer. And then he bought the company. So it really is the American dream. He came over, he worked very hard, uh, and he built it himself. He really built it himself. Like, listen, I can say I built SkyPostal because he and I built it together, and we'll get to that later. But I joined him. He had already something built, and I came into it and was able to take the baton. But he built it, So there's a lot to be said for that.
Oh, absolutely. That sounds like he was a really driven individual, and he wanted to be successful not only for him, for probably for his family. Um, and it goes to show because he brought you into the business as well. What was it like working for him? Because it sounds like a very driven person.
That's a funny thing because my father at home was like a clown. It was fun, and he's always clowning with us, never serious. We always had a good time. We were always laughing. And I remember my first week when I went to work for him as an adult, because obviously when I was working in operation and customer service, I didn't have any dealings with him. But when I went back to work for him when I was 23, I remember saying, who is this guy? He's so different. He's so serious. He's so angry. What's the matter with this guy? This isn't the same guy that I grew up with. And it's just like, man, my dad was locked in. Focus. My father used to get up at 4:30 in the morning. He was in the office by 5:30 in the morning. And if he ever left before 7, we were lucky. That's the kind of guy he was. Old school, every day. We were in a warehouse and he wore a suit every day, you know, uh, just old school guy. And that's where I got a lot of my, for better or for worse, that's where I got a lot of my work ethic.
Well, sounds like a great individual, and it sounds also like you said he was funny at home. So did he leave a lot of the, because there's issues that come up. I mean, logistics stuff's not going 100% right every single day. It's
I
always,
know.
I call it always an adventure,
Oh
and
God.
so but then when it comes down to family, right, you got to be able to separate the two. I find that as a challenge for me as well, right? So it's like how did he handle that? How was he able to do it?
Horribly. He was horrible. Uh, I think my father, God bless him, he passed away 2 years ago. My dad was married 3 times, and every time he got divorced, it was his fault. It was he just was a difficult person to be married to because of his work ethic, because of his constant focus, obsession, I would say, with work. Uh, I do not have that obsession. I I work hard, but I think COVID really opened my eyes to a new way to work. As you can see, I'm working from home today. Uh, that was something that before COVID I would never have dreamt. I mean, I was in the office early and I stayed till late, and I just felt that's what you're supposed to do and that's where you're supposed to be. And I think COVID gave me an opportunity to learn about work life balance. It's a time where before I used to have to fit my life around my work. Now my work fits around my life. And to be honest, it's made me better. It's made me a more effective uh, business person. It's made me a more effective leader, co-worker, whatever you want to call it. Uh, I think it's been for the best, taking the foot off the pedal a little bit, and I'm more efficient.
Yeah, and that balance, I think everyone in logistics finds it a little bit hard because it's a 24/7
No, never
operation.
ending.
It's not an 8 to 5. It's never ending. There's always issues, and shipments and warehouse operations, they run around the clock.
That's right.
I heard recently like no one on their deathbed is regretting spending more hours at work. They're typically regretting not spending enough time with their family. And
Sad
so
to
we
say,
always
my father probably had that feeling. Uh, Sad to say, but I think he did.
So it's finding that balance. Yeah, I think. I mean, we're having an interesting conversation. I know we were supposed to talk about, and we'll jump into Latin American logistics, but I do think this is an important part of everyone's life, especially in our industry. How do I balance my work and life situation and my family situation? And because, like I said, logistics is
And your
twenty four
health.
seven. You're
You got
Yeah,
life balance is about your health and your family and work. And you got to be able to balance it out, because if you don't have your health, you can't take care of your family, you can't take care of your work. So that's something that I have always been very uh, disciplined about, is taking care of myself, working out, staying in shape, because you want to be able to be around for your family and also be around to do what you have to do at work. But it's certainly in that
agreed.
order: health, family, work. Because if you can't take care, you got to take care of yourself, because that's the only way you can take care of your family.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Um, Couldn't agree more. Now, well, hey, let's jump in to talk a little bit about Latin American logistics, and I wanted to start back kind of in the beginning of when you got into the business, and your entry into shipping to consumers in Latin America was with SkyBox. So
Right.
tell me more about the idea. Like, how did the idea for SkyBox come to you, and um, how were you able to get the word out about the service to scale the company?
So the idea wasn't mine. The idea was my father's, and it came to him from his business partner. His business partner was a gentleman in Peru who was his partner in SkyNet at the time, and he was an avid golfer. And every week he was calling my dad to buy him something at a local golf shop and ship it down to him. And my dad said, there's probably a lot of avid golfers in Latin America. There's probably a lot of people down there that want to buy stuff in the United States. And remember, this is 1993. There's no internet. There's no online shopping, you know. So he developed this idea of SkyBox. And when I joined the company in 93, it was just getting off the ground. Uh, and we were offering this service in Argentina. Um, and we had some level of success. And unbeknownst to us, there was an executive at American Express that was using the service. And he reached out to us and said, I love this SkyBox product. I'd like to offer it as a benefit of card membership for all Argentine American Express card holders. We were like, all right, let's go. And it was so successful that then the regional operations for American Express reached out to us and they offered it to all of their card members throughout the region. So all of a sudden, overnight, today's numbers, the numbers I'm going to tell you pale in comparison to today's numbers because everything's exponentially bigger and happens much faster. But overnight, we got like 8,000 clients, which for us, 8,000 clients was a monstrosity. It was a massive amount of business. And we ended up building that business up to having, over 300,000 clients that were using our address as their shipping or shopping address, right? So they were able to go onto Amazon or any other store and shop as if they lived in the United States. Now, remember, this is before the internet. So what we did to incentivize shopping is we made deals with all the catalog companies. Remember those days, there was the Disney catalog and there was the J. Crew catalog and the Victoria's Secrets catalog. We would go out and get extra stock of those catalogs and we'd send catalogs to people. We actually would send them a list of here are the top 200 catalogs in the United States. Which ones do you want? And they check them off. And they check them off, and we would send them those catalogs for free. And they would shop. And that's how we got started. And it's all done by fax, man. I mean, even these, when I say 8,000 people signed up, think about this. Overnight, 8,000 people signing up. This is by sending in a fax and then having someone over here create the account, send them back their information. This is all via fax. This is not
How many fax machines did you own at the time?
Woo! We had a row of fax machines. It was just unbelievable how times change and how things evolve. And then in the 96, we spun it off, SkyBox, into a separate entity, and I was in charge of it. Probably too young to be in charge of a business, but my dad put me in charge of it. And that business grew until 2000 when we sold both SkyBox and SkyNet to LAN Chile airline, which at the time was the largest airline in Latin America, and as today LATAM. They merged with TAM. I even think Delta has a piece of that action, but they're still a very big outfit.
Man, it sounds like the big. I'll call it a little bit of luck, right? Because you probably put in a lot of work, but then a little bit of lucky break came from that customer who worked at American Express that really just identified this as an awesome value-added service that they wanted to bring to their member base.
You got to have luck. I think everyone needs luck. I mean, and luck is sometimes hard work put together with the right time. So we worked very hard. My dad worked very hard, and then the right opportunity came about, and that's luck, man.
Also, there's this term like product market fit, and it sounds like this service was like the perfect product market fit because you've got a customer that identified it as just such a great value they wanted others to do it, and 8,000 signups pretty much overnight. That speaks for it.
It was so big. And, remember, this is for high-end customers. This is for American Express clients. These are people that have the power to buy. They had money. And so it was a big hit, man.
Amazing. So we're in those days. You sold SkyBox. Now SkyPostal, I think, was started around the same time or right after, came next. It was founded in 2001. Correct. And then you later stepped in as the CEO in 2014. Right. Tell us more about SkyPostal and kind of your evolution there through the company and eventual transition into the CEO.
Sure. So we started SkyPostal because we had just sold our company to LAN Chile, and we were working in LAN Chile. We were executives in LAN Chile. And we quickly found that let me put it in, the corporate world wasn't for us. We weren't cut out for living in that big corporate environment. We felt we had to be more in an entrepreneurial, uh, smaller business type setting that we felt we could make a difference. So it occurred to my father to approach Land Chile with this idea for SkyPostal. SkyPostal was born out of a need for reliable mail delivery in Latin America. Um, in Latin America, the postal services are very bad. They're not reliable. They have no technology. Uh, and the world post, such as all the European post, had to use these post offices under the UPU, the Universal Postal Union. Well, in the 90s, there was a lot of privatization going on in Europe. All the posts went private. La Poste, Swiss Post, Deutsche Post, they all went private. And as private companies said, you know what, we don't have to work within the constraints of the UPU anymore. We're going to go out and find better service. We're going to find better and cheaper service. So my dad saw this shift, and he said, we need to create this. We need to be the mail delivery network for Latin America. And that's how we did it. We got Land Chile to loan us $600,000. So they were our partners to start the business. In 2001, we launched it. And we started offering our services to all the European posts. And soon we were managing all of them. All of the posts were using us because, first of all, we were actually delivering the mail. And secondly, it was cheaper than what they would pay via the UPU. So it was a win-win, no-brainer for these guys. And it built our business very, very, very quickly. Overnight, built our business. Mail was great from 2001 to 2008. And then in 2008, the apocalypse hit. You know, the financial crisis hit. And I think there was a big shift. I know there was a big shift in what is printed matter moving over to digital. You know, your statements, you know, your credit card statements, your bank statements, all that paperwork, a lot of it now is digital. Even magazines. We used to handle PC Magazine. It went completely digital. It was a beautiful 1 pound magazine, you know, the kind that a mailer loves to get because it's heavy and you're billing out weight. And from one day to the next, it disappeared. There was another one called the Harvard Business Review. Again, digital. You know, I was like, what's happening? And so we started to see the writing on the wall. We said, man, we got to reinvent ourselves. We're going to have to figure out a different way to do this. And so we said we have to get back into the package business. And in 2008, our non-competes had expired for SkyBox. So we created a company called Punto Mio. And Punto Mio, we thought it was going to be like SkyBox on steroids because now we had the internet. And now we can bring on clients fast and sign them up quickly and forget about catalogs and forget about this. Now you can just send them to stores. And it was true. We started off with Punto Mio and we had great successes. We used a lot of the same model, you know, go to banks that want to offer this because a bank wants to offer a product that's going to get people to spend more money. So this was a perfect product for us. So we had probably 30 different banks in the region, including at American Express, that were offering the Punto Mio service. That business grew to over 500,000 clients fast, really fast. I mean, again, compared to the just 10 years earlier or 15 years earlier, it was exponential. And that business took off. It really took off. And then that created the base for what is our business today, because it required us to have a system that can handle the delivery of parcels, not mail. You know, the individual tracking of individual pieces of packages. And then we were approached by a company at the time called Endicia. Endicia is no longer around, but they were acquired by Stamps.
Right.
They formed part of Stamps. And Disha came to us and says, hey, look, we haven't got a problem delivering packages in Brazil. You guys think you guys can deliver our packages for stuff that we normally give to the USPS, but we're having a lot of problems getting it delivered? We say, sure, of course we can. and we built this parcel system for Indicia, and they were going to call it, what were they going to call it? Indicia Global Services. And we were their first provider. And that's what we built. And I said, wow, okay, this is the business to be in. The Punto Meal business, just like the SkyBox business, is a consumer facing business. You are selling to the buyer. It's the individual shopper in Latin America. Now, all of a sudden, we're turning, and our focus is now on the shipper, the seller. Okay. Now I'm going to the guy who's actually shipping the product and
The retailer.
the retailer. So we really shifted. To give you an idea, in 2008, in 2009, 2010, Punto Meal represented 60% of our business and mail 40%. Okay. Today in 2025, the Punto Meal business represents less than 10%. Mail represents less than 5%, and the rest of it is parcels. So it just shows you how things have shifted. And thankfully, because of Indicia, and thank you to my friend Amin from Indicia, he's the former CEO, I'm sure you know who he is. We built this platform, which really allowed us to catapult into small parcel delivery for big players such as Amazon and eBay and Temu and Shein, which are the people who are feeding us today.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great guy. We overlapped a little bit at stamps.com, and always enjoy seeing him out there in his Hawaiian shirts.
I love that guy.
You know what? Now I'm gonna have to have him watch this podcast and then bring him on so he can tell the other side of the story.
Please do. He is one of my favorite people in this industry. I honestly is one of my favorite people in this industry.
He's fun.
Good human being.
Yeah, agreed. Well, that's another amazing breaks. It sounds like there's been a chain of events, right, throughout this career, throughout your dad starting the business and having these ideas to, the American Express kind of coming to you with a partnership, and then Indicia coming to you with a partnership, and you were just in business. You were right place, right time. You were doing the right things, and then someone just showed up to say, "Hey, I like what you're doing. Let's let us use your services."
You know what? That's the first time I ever thought of that you've just brought this up. But you're absolutely right. Somebody shone a light on it. Someone said, hey, guys, look at this path. And we were like, oh, wow, we can do this. Yeah.
But you know what? It's like longevity in the business matters, right? How many, there's a huge stat, like a ton of businesses that start, close within the first year, within the first 5 years, and they don't last. And for you to get to that, to the Indicia moment, it was like a multi-decade, right, operation, going through multiple different iterations of the business to even get, and having the financial crisis hit you to even get there. And so you just have to laugh. Sometimes, you keep doing it, ups and downs. There's always ups and downs.
It's a war of attrition, man. It's a war of attrition. If you're in business, you got to hang in there. You got to ride the ups and downs because you're going to have them. And I think the reason a lot of people get out after 1 year, fail after 1 year, is that it's hard. Starting is tough, man. When you start your business, it's tough. And that's when you really got to keep your head down and keep going. It's hard to do, but it really isn't. I'm telling you, I'm 33 years in this business. And I've had plenty of ups and downs, plenty challenging years, challenges with business. Anything you've ever heard from an entrepreneur, I've gone through it, sweating out payroll to not being able to pay vendors and all that kind of stuff. That's part of my makeup. That's what made me get to where we are today, but we got through it, and that's one thing. My dad and I would never quit. I think that was probably the best thing he ever gave. His work ethic and his never quit, never say die attitude. Because I'm telling you, there was some dark times, brother. Look, when COVID hit.
Sounds like it. I believe it. Yeah, I want to go into that actually. Let's talk about that, because there was a different that was the next chapter, I think, right? COVID hitting,
Hmm.
And if at one point everyone's going home and shutting down, and the next thing you know, and we're seeing people sitting at home and ordering online, and all of a sudden e-commerce just shoots up.
Loaded.
And so take us through that. Like Latin America, you're in the business, you're doing package shipping now as well,
Yep.
and COVID hits. Like what happens next?
So COVID hits, and there's a 2 or 3 month period. You're saying, "Oh my God, we're really going to go out of business." I mean, there's no business to be had. There's nothing coming through. Uh, we had to get loans, the EIDL loans from the government and all that stuff uh, to maintain the business. And all of a sudden, we get some clients from Asia that are sending thousands and thousands, going, "What the hell is going on?" And all of a sudden, you start seeing this spike, and I'm talking about a straight up spike in volumes uh, that was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. And so we went from being near dead to being the biggest that we've ever been, having the biggest month that we've ever had, and having the greatest volumes that we ever had. And ended up having that year was 2020, right? 2020,
Yep.
a year that I thought was going to be a total loss, and was, I'm telling you, near shutting down the business, to all of a sudden your best year you've ever had. And we've been lucky to be able to maintain that momentum. Obviously after COVID, everything came down a little bit, but I think that we're in the right region. Latin America is such a fast growing region. Um, it's the fastest growing region for e-commerce growth, for cross border growth, and I think we're well positioned for it. And maybe that's also part of it. Having been there for 33 years, we're built on the same network that was there 33 years ago. You know, it's, of course, you've moved pieces around, but you've got the basic infrastructure. We're dealing with a lot of the same people we dealt with, or at least
Mm.
I'm with the sons of the fathers of the people that we dealt with. So there's something to be said about continuity and the
Yep.
experience we have in the region.
I agree with that. And so let's talk about just shipping into Latin America then, because each country is probably has their own kind of unique operation and delivery, customs, etc. Um, like when retailers are shipping to Latin America, like what are most ship like what are they getting wrong? Like what are some common pitfalls that maybe you can advise to avoid, and maybe some regional trends that you could talk about? Like I'm just thinking, like, is there cash on delivery, or they're not using iMessage but they're using WhatsApp for communication? Like what, tell us more about just like shipping into Latin America and that operation.
So the first thing I tell a lot of my clients, especially the US clients and European clients, they are used to a civilized world of the United States and Canada and Western Europe, and things getting delivered and things being orderly. And then I try to explain that, guys, Latin America is not that. Latin America is the Wild West still. And which is the reason we're in business. We are here as the guides to the region. We're going to tell you where to go, where not to go, how to do it, how to get in, because every country, as you mentioned, has its own idiosyncrasies. It's got its own rules, and you got to know them. I think that markets like Latin America, probably the Middle East, Africa, they really require local expertise. The US, you have a whole bunch of options. Canada, Australia, Western Europe, they're all the same network. There's not much difference between one or the other. Latin America is a different ballgame. In Latin America, you either have a horrible postal service or a very expensive express carrier like a DHL or a FedEx. And then in the middle is where SkyPostal lands. And that's how we really market ourselves. We're offering you all the bells and whistles that a courier service offers you, but at more closely related prices to a postal service. But as for trends, for sure, WhatsApp is used. There's no iMessages down there. WhatsApp is the communication tool, much like WeChat is with our Asian clients. I mean, everything we do with Asia is on WeChat. Uh, COD is not something that anybody offers in Latin America. Uh, I think it's a security issue. It's too dangerous, to do that. Um, the local pickups. There's some countries that people are used to going to a place to pick up their goods, and that's product of the horrible postal services. So places like Central America that didn't really have good delivery infrastructure, people were used to already coming to a place. The islands, for example, the Caribbean islands, people are used to coming to get their stuff at the post office, so it's more culturally accepted. Whereas in other countries like Brazil, people want the delivery to their home. The big countries. So we have to tailor our service not only to the client's needs, but to the environment or the country that we're in, where we're selling or we're operating.
Yeah, it sounds like very similar to like some of the difference between Europe and US. Like in Europe, there's a lot of pickup, drop off, right? The Pudo
Yes.
type
Yeah.
locations, but in the US, pretty much everyone prefers that home delivery. And not a lot of Pudo that hasn't really taken off. So it's just the custom of every country. It's a little bit different. And you're basically the one point to say, hey, we know how to work with every one of these Latin American countries. We know
Right.
the specifics. We'll get your package there, and we're going to help you. So you don't have to worry about like defining the requirements for each one.
Right. And we'll even tell you where not to go. Like, for example, right now, this is not a secret, but don't go to Venezuela. It's a tough place to deliver right now. The country's in upheaval. It's a very volatile environment. So obviously we don't offer Venezuela, but this goes to show you how crazy this business is. Venezuela, when I started in this industry, was our number one market. In 1995, it was our number one country for deliveries. And in 95, Chavez came into power and that country went to zero. And it was a very sad situation. But this is what happens in Latin America, which is why it's important to be a regional player and not just a country specific player, because you've really got to ride out the ups and downs of the governments uh, and these countries that change. Everything. If there's one thing that's constant, it's change in Latin America.
So for a retailer comes to you today and says, look, we're not selling into Latin America. What are the largest markets we should be selling in? What are you recommending?
I'm recommending Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, now Argentina. Argentina, another one of those markets. Argentina basically shut down for 10 years. They took measures to shut down their country, and it just this year has been reopened with this new government. Now I think it's a great opportunity. Hopefully it sticks. But Argentina, more than any other country in the region, is a roller coaster. We've had highs and lows in Argentina over the last 33 years. I don't think there's any other country in the region that's been that volatile.
Interesting. Interesting. What about technology? Like how's technology playing a role in cross-border delivery? As I know you guys built like yes, you have an operation, but I understand you also have the technology backbone to run the operation that you guys have developed. So tell us more about that and like how's technology making things more simple, or maybe there's things that are missing.
Well, let me just tell you something. We are as much a technology company as we are a delivery company. We have 16 people in our IT team that are working to come, and everything that we've built is in-house. We don't buy anything off the shelf. We've always from the beginning built in-house. That's been our philosophy. We feel we have a better control of it, and it allows us the flexibility to build the technology to suit our operational needs and our clients' needs. So, tech technology for us, listen, data, the package could be physically delivered, but if I don't provide the data showing that it was delivered, that package is not delivered. Okay. So that is just as important as delivering the physical package, as delivering the data. So, because if I deliver a package and my client doesn't see it as delivered, I can say that wasn't delivered. Well, yeah, it was. No, it wasn't. And I'm not paying for it. So technology is incredibly important. And it also allows us to work smarter. I mean, look, like I said, we were working with fax machines in the early 90s, and we were sending our manifest via fax. Now you transmit, now we We pre-clear into countries, stuff is cleared before it even lands. So you're able to speed up the game. We're using technology to make ourselves better, faster, and cheaper. That's what we're always trying to do. How can we lower the cost to pass it on to the clients? How can we do it faster? And how can we do it better?
Yeah, that's what the technology should be doing, right? It should be
Right.
making us all more efficient.
100%.
Um, let's talk about the future. Like what, you've been through some ups and downs. You've had some lucky breaks.
Mhm.
You've had some great partnerships. Um, but what's happening next? Like what excites you most about like future of e-commerce logistics into Latin America?
I honestly feel, going back to baseball, that we are like in the second or third inning. I think there's a lot ahead of us. The region is untapped. There's great opportunity in Latin America. There's a very large emerging middle class that has the power to buy things. They want things. Everybody has mobile phones. So mobile technology and mobile shopping is a big deal. Uh, and they are going to, what I see the future is, and it's what's happened always, first happens in the United States, and now those people are going to expect the level of service. Like, we are today, we shop now. If I don't get something from Amazon tomorrow, I'm like, hey, what's going on here, man? What's going on? It's laughable. You're mad that you didn't get something after you ordered 12 hours ago. Well, that's going to happen in Latin America. It won't be that fast because customs is always going to slow things down, but we've constantly have to strive to get to that level of speed. That's why I said that it's important for us to be cheaper, faster, and better, because you've got to figure out a way. It used to be that a client in Latin America would accept a 30-day delivery. Like, they didn't think anything of it. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the Amazon and speed, and they basically set the pace for everyone else to match.
Right.
And
Right.
that sounds exciting. What if you're talking to a U.S. retailer that's either looking to start shipping to Latin America and expand their market there, or they're looking to improve their operation and be more efficient in shipping and delivering into Latin America? Like what, and they're looking for a new partner. Like what should they be looking for in a logistics partner? I'm sure one of the answers could be rates, but anything else other than the cost?
Rates, local knowledge, local coverage. We have country managers in every country, and they are invaluable. You know, they are on the ground. They're able to go sit inside of customs offices if there's a problem. It's hard to do that from abroad. You have to be there to see what's going on in these countries, and it's a lot about relationships too. We have a very good reputation in the region with customs. And it's very important to maintain that, because you don't want to be seen as someone who's a pirate or contraband guy. We really want to make sure we do things the right way so that we don't have any problems with customs, because customs can really make your life miserable. And so you don't want to be on the wrong side of customs. So that's important. Local know-how. Listen, pricing is we know about pricing. We know that our prices are good because they're much cheaper than FedEx or DHL or the express carriers. And if they've been using the post office, they're going to be they're going to be in for a very big surprise, because our service is much faster. And not that I'm not knocking the USPS. It's not the USPS. The USPS is counting on the foreign posts to deliver. So, and that's where I have found most of the people that are already doing it and we're using the USPS. They've either gotten out, and that's why Indisha came to us. They were having problems delivering their packages with the USPS into Brazil. So there's two types of clients, right? The client that's never sold to Latin America, that we have to convince them to give it a try. And our job is to make it as seamless as if it were selling it to somebody in the United States. So that's what we're constantly trying to do, either through partners. We have partners that offer platforms for sellers that they can get on. We have, we're on the Shopify app, we're on the ShipStation app, Easy Ship, eCross, uh, and Cargo. These are all different platforms that allow sellers to kind of put their toe in the water without having to make a full. Uh, they don't have to make a full commitment to the market. I think, and I always advise the new clients to do that. I go, you got to try it out. but use one of these services that is going to make it a lot easier for you. You just have to upload your product. They're going to handle the transactions for you. They're going to handle the customs clearance for you, and then we're going to deliver it for you. That to me is the best way to, it's how I would advise a new seller to do it. Let's give it a shot. You know, we don't know if it's going to sell. We don't know if it's going to be a problem. You know, if you're in the cosmetics or supplement business, it depends on the country. You can't send to every country. Now, if you're selling clothing, great, you're going to have success. And then it becomes a marketing thing. You got to market.
Absolutely. Got to get the revenue. Nothing happens until the revenue starts, until
Right.
sales starts, I should say. Those are great tips, and really appreciate you sharing that. Um, Listen, I've had you for quite a while time. I want to appreciate all your insights. Love hearing about the history of your company and working, with your dad. I believe you're a family business today as well. You're not. It's not just your dad that started it, but you were able to share that
Yeah.
with your family. Can you speak more about that and kind of how that's transitioned from working with your dad to being a family business today?
So after my brother graduated from college, he came to work with us in SkyBox. And while at SkyBox, I had a business partner who brought this former executive from American Express to come work in our marketing department to help us grow the SkyBox business. I was in 1996, and that lady eventually became my wife, Patty. Both Patty and my brother, two of the top uh, people in this company. I mean, they really, as a matter of fact, they're more important than I am in running the business and making things go. We're very lucky that we have some really excellent people to go along with Patty and Andy. Our head of IT, Diego Moreno, is fantastic. Our CFO, Ricardo Lowe, is completely professionalized our financial uh, part of the business. Uh, and we wouldn't be here without the four of those people. Like those are kind of like the heads of state, I call them here in business. They each handle different departments, and we're not here if it's not for them. The message is surround yourself with good people. Get good people
Yeah,
around you. Now, working with family, you mentioned about working with family. It's hard sometimes because, especially with your wife, especially when my wife is the boss at home and I'm the boss at work, it creates sometimes challenges. But considering that we met in that environment, she was working with us, and it's been wow, has it been almost 30 years? My God. She came to work for us in 96. It'll be 30 years next year. Holy smokes. She knows how to handle things, and she we respect each other in that sense. And I like working with her. A lot of people say, "Oh God, working with my wife." I like working with my wife. I like working with my brother. The people you can trust. They're looking out for you. They're not going to look to do you harm. And I feel like I can walk away from the business and leave them managing stuff. I don't have to be every day on top of stuff, which is also a very good thing.
that's amazing. Um, well, I wish everyone some of the luck that you've had building this company and building it with your family. I was going to ask you. I feel like you've answered this multiple times, but I think it's an important question, which I like to ask on this podcast. Um, is what do you attribute your success to?
Um, Never quitting, uh, treating people well. I think, and again, another lesson from my father is, you know, y- y- we work with people; they don't work for us. Was always the message, uh, and we treat them well. And I feel that when you treat your people well, they treat you well. And then again, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, surround yourself with intelligent, hardworking people. Uh, we've done that. we've really done that with the group that we have. And I'm just lucky that 2 of them happen to be my family members.
Amazing. AJ, thanks for joining me on the show and sharing your insights on cross-border logistics, talking about the family business and just evolution of e-commerce in Latin America and what's to come. Where can people learn more about SkyPostal or connect with you?
Well, they can go to our website at skypostal.com. They can email me, or they can email info@skypostal.com, but they can also email me at ajhernandez@skypostal.com. Be happy to answer any questions and help get some service and business from you. Please give me a call.
Awesome. I hope anyone that's thinking about Latin America, shipping to Latin America does that. And appreciate again your time and sharing your insights. Listeners, as always, subscribe on the Logistics Remix channel for more conversations that make sense of shipping. Give us a like, and we'll see you next time.